Good afternoon. Hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending your time with us the last 2 days. It's important to this industry, as we are this industry, and now let's take this to the next level. And I'm really excited about 2024 and what we're going to bring you. But I want to wrap this 2023 Northwest Event Show up with a great speaker. We've got Mike Amato coming up. Mike, I met Mike. We do wine tours in Woodinville, and I met Mike at this awesome winery, Ambassador. I actually had this name for a wine. I was going to do this wine called Ambassador, and then I look up and there's this great big sign that says Ambassador. I'm like, okay, that one's taken. We like to get to know wine owners, wine makers, and have these personal experiences that we take groups out for wine tours. So I meet Mike, and just this super, really great guy. And I've taken tours to him, and I've watched him work and connect with people. And it was amazing. I watched him watch this. I brought this group in, high-level group, 14 people, and he's just telling us about his wine. And I watched him work and connect with everyone, talking and just doing his thing. And I was just like, wow, you're really amazing. So I've become a little bit of friends with Mike, and he was telling me about how he led one of the largest banks in Europe through a culture crisis. And so he wrote this book about it, and I was telling him what I do about the Northwest Event Show and all the things I do. And he's like, and I convinced him to come share with us. And so I'm really excited to welcome and listen and hear what he has to share. Mike, would you come up, and Mike Amato, would you guys?
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
I sure appreciate that. Thank you. As Stuart mentioned, we had a chance to connect. And in fact, in his opening speech for the whole conference, he talked about connecting. And this is all about connecting event planning professionals, administrative assistants, or event planning people who put on events for their respective teams, and connect them with resources that can help them put on the most professional, inspiring, and importantly, events that connect to the company vision, to the experience of the employees. So connecting with Stuart was fantastic, and I think having connection as a key is actually one of the key words in my presentation for you today. Now, I know it's the end of the conference. We've all been grinding for a couple of days. I'm going to speak fast, but everything I say is going to be from a true story as a backdrop, and I'm talking about leading in crisis. So when you talk about leading in crisis, the title of my book is called The Better Way to Win. And what I learned in my executive career is, as Stuart mentioned, I was one of the presidents of Washington Mutual Bank in the retail division. And they had a crisis. I had left before that, and had gone to another organization in London, which I'm going to tell you about that story. But we had a real crisis, and I had to deal with that and understand it, and I've seen other crises in action. So the question is, today almost everybody's in a crisis. And I use that word, but it also means opportunity. And I don't mean that in a trite way. I will show you how a crisis can be an opportunity, and I'll show you firsthand. So with that, let's get going. I've met a lot of you, and a lot of you have helped me by taking a values survey. And I got a chance to talk to you. And as we talked, got a chance to make the point about values. And values are, a lot of organizations will look at your performance review, and I'm going to spread my arms out here to show they deal with behavior. But in reality, what we should talk about, behavior is the outer ring of a series of concentric circles. At the heart is your values. Values is why we get up in the morning, not get up at night. Get up in the morning. And the values inform the corporate culture. When you take the collection of independent values, you have an ecosystem, and that informs the culture. The culture informs the behaviors. So when we talk about looking at performance reviews that focus on behaviors, the reality should be we should be talking about the values that inform the culture that informs the behaviors. And I'll show you why that matters, and I'll also show you measurements. It's really important that we have measurements and data today, so I have that. So as set up for that, I want to tell you about a really interesting crisis, stroke opportunity. Sorry, in the UK they say stroke. It means / opportunity. So I left Washington Mutual when the values started changing. They really wanted to get into subprime lending, as you probably know, and stock was at an all-time high. And I thought, one of the presidents of the retail bank, it just wasn't matching up with what I wanted to do, so I left and I went to London. Now, I just started in London, and we knew that Barclays Bank was having some issues. They brought a couple of my colleagues and my boss, actually, from Washington Mutual in to turn Barclays around, the UK retail bank at the time. So we got there, we knew there was issues. Well, one night, we're just trying to understand the bank and work, the telephone rings. And on the line is a BBC producer. And he says, hey, you guys are gonna be on TV Sunday night. I said, wow, we just got here and already we're on TV. And he goes, well, you may not be so happy. He goes, we have embedded reporters in your staff and call centers for 9 months. And they've video recorded and audio recorded every training session, management meeting, performance review, and customer interaction that we could possibly get. And we've got a profile on Barclays, and you're gonna be featured as Barclays, the bank that sells people to missell to customers. And it's like, wow, as an American, my first reaction is this can't be legal. This can't possibly be happening, and it can't be legal. And turns out in the UK, it's legal. So the BBC published it on Sunday night. And we were feeling bad, we're kind of nervous about it and everything else. And it was, you guys, it was worse than anything I ever imagined. It was awful. I'll give you one example, just one example. A personal banker is sitting at her desk, and the BBC reporter had her bag there with a camera. And a gentleman comes in and sits down, a guy about this tall, maybe 80 years old. He sits down and says, excuse me, I'd like to borrow maybe 100 pounds, maybe 200 pounds, because I hate to say it, but I need a new bed, and so I'd like to borrow this money. So they trained at that time the employees to be perky, polite. And she goes, no problem, let's look. And she goes, tap, 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 tap. And it could have been a skit on Saturday Night Live. Tap, 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 tap. She goes, oh, sorry. The computer says, no, we can't give you the loan. But it does prompt me to ask you if you would like home contents insurance. And the guy says, are you kidding me? You won't give me a loan to buy home contents, but you want to sell me insurance to pay for home contents or to cover my home contents. And it was like the guy gets up and he walks out. He said, I've been a customer here for 35 years, and he leaves. And the reporter voiceover says, and if you don't know how to sell the Barclays way, now you do. And I felt horrible, right? I felt horrible for my life. I thought maybe you're gonna send me on a plane back to America. But I felt bad for the organization. I felt bad for this employee. And when we talked to the executives and the board, the union was upset, the regulators were upset, it was all over the news. So we talked to them, I said, the employee is a victim here. She was doing what we have trained her to do. In other words, her behavior is a reflection of the culture that we've created. And so we've got to get in and understand better the culture here. We've got to understand the values, and why are we training people to do this? And so we launched a transformation program. And I'll give you one more bit of information about that transformation program, because we would sit down to gather insights. The first thing we did was say, how do we understand and get a pulse of the organization? Because clearly we're missing something. So we sat down, we get employees in a meeting from all levels, all together. We gave them a deck of cards with pictures on there. And in the pictures, we told them, choose the 4 that define Barclays for you. Well, the first picture is a Greek hillside, with the hillside with the houses on there, all different colors and kind of chock-a-block. Well, we said, well, why did you choose that card? And this is group after group after group would say, because our organization is so siloed, I don't know who owns what we're supposed to be selling today, what we're supposed to be telling customers. We don't know who works for who. Like, geez, okay. What's the next card? Came up and says, and it's a bullseye. Targets. Really, what's this? Oh, targets, my God. All week long we hear about our targets, and we don't hit our targets. If we don't have our perfect week defined numerically by sales, we have to stay Friday night and have a phone call with our boss's boss, and we have a performance improvement plan, a PIP, they called it. It's like, wow. Next card they pulled up was the card of a clown. We said, well, why the clown? And they said, well, because we love our coworkers. In spite of all you guys, what you're talking about in the head office and everything else, the things that you impose on our branches and call centers and support areas, we have a great time together. So we just have a good time. I love my coworkers. Like, okay, now we've got something we can sink our teeth into. And the last card was a lion. I said, why would you choose a lion? Our symbol is an eagle. And they said, you know, we're proud to work here. I said, I started here after high school, and I've been here, and this is one person, I've been here 45 years. And I love this organization, I love it. So those insights were incredible. They helped say, okay, there's a way to go here. And we devised a playbook, a transformation program, say, how do we go from eliminating the first 2 cards and the feelings about that and create the feeling of the last 2 cards? How do we connect with everybody individually? Now, everybody, okay, 30,000 people was my team. So 30,000 people, we had to change the culture, we had to change the ecosystem. And so I came away with some findings. I want to show you, before I get into the findings, some of the results that we got, because I measured everything. Created a balanced scorecard. I wanted to see performance in 5 ways. In fact, balanced scorecard is a little bit erroneous because balanced scorecard indicates we'll take something from here to get something from there and balance it. Say, no, we're going to outperform on all 5 dimensions of a scorecard. What do they include? Customers. We need customer metrics, right? Like all of you. What else do we have? Colleague metrics. We need to understand our colleagues, what they think about. Next, we have to have management metrics. What does that mean? We don't have management scorecards here. Yeah, well, you do. I want productivity and efficiency. I want to do more by spending less. That's management's job. Third, I want quality. I've got all these stakeholders that are upset with me, I'm personalizing, but with the organization, because we're failing in so many fronts. So we have to do quality. We have to be better than everybody else in the industry in terms of benchmarking our standards in terms of quality. Lastly, financial performance. So the point was to take customer plus colleague plus management metrics plus quality equals financial performance. And that was the most difficult thing to convince the board and the managers who work for me that performance is an outcome. And I want to show you the results of what happened over the course of 18 months. Again, 30,000 people is important to mention that number because it's kind of a big rock to roll. So I want to show you what happened. So first, the green one, the customer metrics. We went from 6th place in the UK. Now, by the way, we're tied for the largest bank. We're with Lloyds, we're one of the 2 largest banks. We're 6th place in terms of customer advocacy and brand liking, brand awareness. In 18 months, we had moved to 2nd place. Colleague metrics, we had several ways to measure, but employee engagement, it was 64%. Now, what does that mean? We measured by the Hay Group. Now, 64%, global high-performing norm was 86%. I'd never seen a bank below 70%. Barclays was 64%. So you talk about connection at this conference, this is disconnection. We have employees who are disconnected from leadership and from what we're trying to do. Within 18 months, we moved that to 92%. It was the highest bank globally. And more importantly, the 64%, only 72% of the people would answer the survey. They wouldn't even fill it out. 98% of the people filled out the survey that rolled up to 92%. So something happened, you guys. We connected, we engaged, and we attached people to what we were doing. And I'm going to tell you how we did it. But first, let's go to management effectiveness. At the time of this, we did a consolidation, and while we were satisfying employees and customer record levels, we cut 250 million pounds from the cost base. And I'll call it sales per seller, but I had 10,000 people who were loan reps, investment advisors, and new accounts, 10,000 of them. I was told we could never get over 10. 10 sales per week was the top it's ever been. Within 18 months, we're at 23 per week. Oh, but Mike, what about quality? Let's jump down to the pink one, which is quality. The year before, during the crisis, we had 6 failed audits. There's other measures of quality, but audits are pretty good saying red light, okay? We had 6. After this transformation, we had 0. So we did all of that and had better quality. In fact, we devised a program to do post-sale customer welcome calls, which were really compliance calls to make sure that we were auditing the sales process, make sure the customers knew what they were getting. So the regulator liked it so much, they took it and they imposed it as a regulation on the rest of the UK retail banks. So finally, what happened with financial performance? When this happened, we were 48% to plan, when this crisis happened. 48% to plan. We launched this program, and within about 3 months, there's green shoots. 6 months, things are starting to happen. 18 months later, we were 140% to plan. We never went below 125% to plan ever again. So my point for sharing this is that there's a better way to win, which is the title of my book. And there's a playbook for turning an organization around in crisis. And there's 3 things that I want to share with you that cause this to happen. Before I share it, though, I want to share with you guys that crisis is not unique to certainly Washington Mutual or Barclays. I mean, look at the list of names there. When you look at that, I want to understand what do they have in common with my experience with Barclays. When you look at it, one thing is arrogance. Every one of these organizations were at an all-time high when their crisis hit. And some of them don't exist anymore. You know about Theranos, Silicon Valley Bank this week, kind of bad news there. They don't exist anymore. Washington Mutual doesn't exist anymore. So their crisis caused them to go under. Every one of them was arrogant. They cracked the code. They were different than the rest. They were flying high. I left Washington Mutual just very fortuitously when the stock price was an all-time high. 2 years later, failed. So, question, Boeing. Boeing, you certainly know about their crisis from this area here. Wells Fargo is still doing it. Boeing is still dealing with it. It cost all the executives and the board their jobs. So the point here is that it's not unique, but one of the characteristics is arrogance. They thought they knew about it, and in fact, when I talk to people about culture, especially leaders, oh yeah, we got that. I talked to somebody here yesterday. Oh, we got that. We got a ping pong table. I go, oh, right. You think that's culture? And it's one of the things that everybody thinks they understand, but in reality, I don't think there's a common definition of it. So we're going to talk about that. But the issue is not, it's like we think we have it, but there's significant gaps between understanding of really what it is and then certainly how to deliver it. So the 3 things that I would say to leaders, or actually it doesn't have to be leadership. It's things that you can watch for if you're not a leader in the organization, if you want to change your organization from within. These are 3 things you want to focus on. Number 1, you guys, we had to redefine the role of leadership. Number 2, connect all in the company to the purpose or the vision. And number 3, align values. I want to go over each of these one at a time. Okay, first, the role of leadership. In my book, I stole my own quote, but a lot of leaders think their job is to deliver the numbers. My job is to hit the plan. What do? I make sure that I drive performance. That's what I do. I build high-performing teams. It's like, that's not your job. That is not your job. That's actually the output of you doing your job right. The input, the thing that causes that to happen, is creating and sustaining a high-performing culture, a high-performing ecosystem that unites everybody in the organization so that they're rowing in the same direction and they're connected by purpose, by a shared sense of purpose, and it leads to then the magic of discretionary energy. People do it because they want to do it. And when you do that, it's magical the impact it has on people when you lead by saying, let's fix the ecosystem. So when you have a crisis, or you have a situation, I call it crisis, but I could say stress, I could say challenge, fundamental issue, whatever you might want to say. But when that comes up, the first thing not to look at the behaviors, look and say, what are we doing that's disconnecting from the employees from the sense of purpose? Now, what's a sense of purpose? At Barclays, our vision, our purpose was very simple. Purpose is your vision. What are we going to do? We're going to be the best bank in they said the best retail bank in the UK. Well, we changed it. Best bank in the world. That's what we're here for. And if not us, who would do it? So why not us? So best bank in the world was our purpose. So we had to connect everybody to that. And that means that management has to look at their role and say to themselves, how can we do that? How do we bring this vision to life for everybody? And it's not an idea of giving more speeches. It's not the idea of saying they just don't understand, they just don't get it. It's actually looking at your purpose and saying, what does it mean to them? And when you try to connect, you start saying, how do we communicate? And I have to tell you, a lot of leadership right now has devolved to not only managing results, try to managing profitability, but they've devolved to virtue signaling. Oh, what speech from a manager right now can you read that does not include inclusivity, diversity? We stand for those things. Those are value statements, right? They all say that. The question is, do you deliver on that? And so the idea is we had to clear up the communication. And so we did simple things. We changed the language. Number 1, I eliminated the reply all button. I would get 300 emails a day, somebody scolding somebody, copying Micah motto so that it meant something. It's like, do never, ever copy me on something. And if you do put me in an email, tell me what you want me to do about it. Tell me to do something. I'll follow your orders, just quit reply all. So little things like that. But I'll tell you, we eliminated another word. Remember that card with targets that they showed? We hate the targets. Well, I thought about it, and I thought, those targets, what does that mean? Well, if the target is like a high jumper has a bar at about 6 feet. They run, they jump, they clear it by an inch. Raise the bar to 6'4". They run, they jump, they clear it by an inch. 6'6" by an inch. 7 up until they finally can't clear the bar. Well, that is a person that's got a scarcity mindset, a goal-based mindset. I'm going to hit that target, not a goal-based, pardon me, a target-based mindset that says, my job is just to clear the target. That's how I measure effectiveness. We changed that. Said, no, from now on, we're looking at ourselves as sprinters. Sprinter comes the starting line. They benchmark themselves left and right with their competitors. They prepared for this moment. They look at the finish line and they give themselves permission to go as fast as they can. It's not about hitting a target time, it's about succeeding towards a goal. Simple little change to goal, change the mindset of the employees. And if an ecosystem is nothing but a collection of energy from everybody in the organization, it also means we need to have a mindset that permeates the organization. And I wanted them to say, you've got permission, go for it. Become the sprinter, quit just trying to clear the bar. Huge difference when you add discretionary energy, it has huge difference on performance. Now, this is HubSpot Culture Code. I hope they're still here because they were here yesterday morning, and I want to say, I love you guys. Culture is to recruiting as product is to marketing. So we want to connect everybody in the organization to the purpose or the vision. If it's to be the best retail bank in the world, how do we connect folks to that? What does that mean? And sometimes what we do as leaders, we forget to say, well, the employees, what's in it for me? Well, why should I care? I mean, great, I'm helping somebody be rich, but really what's going on here? How do I connect it? And the realization is that employees want 3 things from work. They just want 3 things. It's pretty simple. Number 1, they want to feel like they're part of an important cause, an important purpose they can get excited about. Number 2, they want to feel like their contribution to that purpose is meaningful. People want to do meaningful work. Number 3, when they do their work well, they want to be recognized for that. So the 3 things they want from that, and if you can provide those 3 things and recognize recognize them for that contribution, you end up starting to connect to the vision. Now the vision is your vision. Our job as a leadership team, once we redefined what we stood for, was to connect everybody to this vision by saying, this is your vision. And you could start seeing it when they said, how could we do it? How could we make the company better? So this was a massively important part of what we did. And what it did, again, was it gets everybody to row in the same direction. When you get 30,000 people rowing in the same direction, as opposed to holding everything static because they're fighting against each other, I'll tell you, the results you saw were magical. The third point, aligned values. This one I want to stick with for just a little while. Values are what we get up in the morning for. Values are what we stand for. And understand that in an organization, there's 3 value sets. In fact, let's back up just one step. In an organization, there's 3 types of capital. There's the capital, which is the cash that you have on hand. There's capital in the intellectual property of the organization, that's products and the brain power of the organization. But there's human capital. And it's interesting, we audit the first 2 types of capital, but we don't audit our human capital. And the human capital is the one that's most at risk. Of all your capital, human capital goes home at night. They don't have to come back. So we have to have an understanding of human capital and understand the importance of it in terms of driving what we want to drive the organization. So the key to that is to say, now, with that, with those different types of capital, then we've got to understand the core values with them. And to do that, you've got to audit the organization. You audit your financials. You audit your risk management policies. You audit your safety protocols and your technology systems and the like. Do we audit the culture? Ask somebody that, and they'll say, oh yeah, we've got employee engagement surveys. Well, yeah, okay, but when do you do it? Oh, we do it every 2 years. And it's a paper-based survey, and we ask 72 questions. And I'll tell you what they do with it, because I was on a team that used to do this. You get the report, executive says, okay, we got a half an hour to talk about this, show me what's going on. Bottom 3, you guys go after it and you fix this. And let me know in 3 months how it's going, we're going to report back. Then they go give a speech and say, okay, we heard what you said during those engagement surveys, and we're on it, we're going to fix it. But it's just moving the chairs around on the Titanic, typically. So values, if you understand that's the driver of the organization, and the organization's collection of energy, you want to connect those values. So we would do, when we talked to folks about what they wanted, we did something called an employee value proposition. We created that. And I said, well, what's that? Well, you got a product value proposition. Every company has a value proposition for their products. Do we have a value proposition for our employees? So how do you create that proposition so that people feel attached to it? So we rethought everything we did, from who we recruit to fit the organization's vision and align with the organization values. Who do we hire and how do you do that? How do we train them and onboard them? How do you give them the technical skills to do their job? And ultimately, at the end of that whole process is, how do you create a succession planning? What's in it for the employee? We'll show you a clear path to growth. So as we started articulating that, it started to catch fire, and now people were not only aligned with the organization's purpose, but they're aligned with the values. So the last couple days, I've been going around and chasing everybody in the hallway that I can find. Many of you were so kind to fill out my values survey. I'm affiliated as a chairman with an organization, chairman of the advisory committee. And they're called Brands with Values. And what they've created is a tool that actually can audit the values of an organization. And it replaces employee engagement surveys. And many of you filled this tool out. It's 3 questions. Number 1, what are your personal values? 99 words, touch 10. Boom, 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 boom. Swipe your phone. What are the organization's values? 99 words, touch 10, boom, 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 swipe your phone. Finally, what are the values that you see displayed every day at work? Swipe your phone. Done. In 7 minutes, we can do a values audit for 100,000 people. Could be more than that, but I mean, that's like a lot. So when you look at those values, you look at the survey, you start learning interesting things. We produce a 50-page report that says, wow, each one of those choices you made lead us into a certain type archetype, but it also, more importantly, or equally important, shows you what you're not saying. You're making choices about what's most important. That means you're also making choices about what you don't choose to emphasize. So I've taken this survey with as many people that we could here, and we got some really cool responses. It's all anonymous. I'll show you 4 slides that describe the results with some pretty interesting findings. I think they're really fascinating. Now remember, different levels, different companies, different places where people live here. You're not in the same company, so it's the same company, it's even more powerful. But watch this. Number 1, workplace values. If you look at the circle, that talks about innovation, creativity. It's one of the lowest items there in terms of the word wall that we asked you to describe. And this is the values that I see in the workplace. So that indicates lack of innovation, lack of creativity, lack of autonomy. Well, that's interesting, because when you talk to executives and say, what's one of the most important things that you have in their shareholder annual report, it'll be, we're a culture of innovation. And yet, you can see the results are like, that's not really an area of focus. So then we asked, let's sort this by founder, junior manager, and manager. And what's really interesting is a CEO founder, this underscores the fact that here's they desire innovation. But look at the other 2 groups. It's not even on their top 3. So they come in much lower, almost half as important. So if you're a CEO or a leader of a team and you want to create innovation and you want an ecosystem that encourages it, you have to have people in the organization that buy into that. You have to have a way to communicate what you want to do and have the right ecosystem that encourages it. So if you all represented an organization, we would dig into this and say, what's going on here? Why is it important to the leader, but it's not present in the organization? Next is selflessness. Okay, so in the word wall, look at the second line in terms of selflessness. And notice the CEO founder is 2%, and yet it's 12% in the other 2 groups. So this is describing equality. These are individuals in the junior and senior management ranks that are saying equality is really important to me. Okay, selflessness is really important to me. It's one of my core values. And yet the CEO's only 2% response on that. Do you see the problem there? So, and again, virtue signaling, I stand up and say, hey, do you know what? A really important issue for me is equality. And yet it's not even one of my core values. I have a gap. That speaks to a little bit of potentially hypocrisy that you need to look at. So that's pretty significant. The other is cultural health. So we look at the questions, we organize and say, so what's the relative cultural health? And you can see the responses, every value has a positive and negative side to it. So by and large, 5 to 10 years, pretty positive. Little dip in positivity from 3 to 5 years. 0 to 11 months, pretty good. But look at 0 to 3 years. The individuals that are out here that you're all walking by and took the survey, and the folks that are in their job the least have significantly undesirable values in terms of their organization. What are they saying? 40% on controlling. It's demanding. Our culture is long hours. It's hierarchical. That's a challenge. This is a flight risk. Remember I said the human capital goes home at night? These people are going to go home and stay home. So you're going to end up in a cycle if you don't understand this. So again, you're not the same organization, but if you were, that's the first thing we would sit down together and say, what's happening here? Why is it so significantly negative experience for new hires than it is for the others? Is it just we only keep survivors? Is that really what we want? What if you're hiring A people, but they're leaving? So it's really interesting. This asks more questions than it does answer, but that's not my job today. My point is to show that the relationship to the values and the various value sets within the organization are incredibly valuable test of the gaps between these various value sets. Remember, the bigger the gap in these things, the bigger the chance that when a crisis does come, it's going to just explode it, okay? It's going to expand any dysfunction. So the focus is then creating an intentional culture. The one that we say we have these values, and the ones that our employees say are important to them, we merge them together and we create a culture or an ecosystem that's what we intend. I have to tell you, most organizations have an accidental culture. Again, talking to an event planner just yesterday, and she said her boss thinks that their culture is amazing. She just thinks it's amazing because he surrounds himself with senior managers who say how amazing it is. She said, I quit last week. It's awful. It's just terrible, but he doesn't know the truth. So it's too bad he didn't have this data because it would open his eyes to things that he might want to focus on, because that's a guy walking into a crisis one day, unless he enjoys hiring people and then taking top talents and watching them walk. I mean, maybe that's a good thing for him. So what we're describing here is a message to leadership and saying, let's stop virtue signaling, let's stop managing profitability, let's stop serving shareholders only. Yes, they're a stakeholder. Yes, we have to make sure the stock price is there. And yes, we do it through financial performance. But you have other stakeholders that you need to please. And you need a playbook for pleasing everybody. I mean, you've got to please employees. If you want to retain your human capital, you need to please employees and understand how you can create a value proposition that keeps them around and encourages them to give the most. You've got business partners, you have customers, of course, creditors, government agencies, the communities that you serve. Those are all important stakeholders, and you cannot let any one of them down, or I believe your organization's failing on their brand promise. Our brand promise is that we do certain things. You do these certain things for everybody. It's crucial. And you can see the results that I gave sort of at the beginning of the conversation. There's a way to do it. There is a better way to win, and we proved it. So, event planners are near and dear to my heart. They're always an important part of my team because I always had a vision of how do I show people appreciation and how can we do it in creative, professional ways that I could have never done myself. My event planners were incredibly valuable members of my team. Saw several of them from my former team yesterday and today. So it's really cool to see them because they do a phenomenal job for me as an executive. In fact, Claire Marlowe was my my event planner in London for my events with Barclays, and I wish I'd taken her advice. Okay, so I had this idea when we delivered our transformation plan. We created a framework to bring the organization from here to here, and here's how we were going to do it. Wanted to socialize it with everybody in the organization so they understood and could connect to our journey. I said, you know what we need is an eagle. She said, no, Mike, you don't need an eagle. I said, no, we need an eagle. Our Barclays symbol is an eagle. We've got to show an eagle at this meeting. She goes, no, what are you talking about? I said, well, Auburn football game. Well, she said, soccer? No. American football game, Auburn Eagles, they turn a live eagle loose every Saturday before they play. And it flies around, it lands on it's beautiful. The Seattle Seahawks turn the hawk loose. It's fantastic. We need an eagle. She said, there's 2,700 people in this meeting, Mike. You can't have any. I said, no, I'm telling you can't convince me. We got to show managerial courage. I'm trying to tell everybody to be courageous and change. I need to show it. So I go and I meet this eagle trainer. There is such a thing. And it's actually the guy who trained the Harry Potter owl. I got to hold the Harry Potter owl. But but this eagle named Princess, and boy, she is not a princess. So he comes up to the meeting, and we did these practice sessions beforehand. Well, before the meeting at lunchtime, he comes, and it's a big day. I'm going to turn the eagle loose, and everybody goes to lunch, and he said, let's practice. And his hands are shaking. And I said, why are your hands shaking? He goes, you are about to turn a wolf with wings loose in a conference room with 2,700 people. I said, dude, couldn't you have said that like in our practice sessions like last month? You're that nervous? He goes, oh my God. So now I'm like lacking. You can see my face. I'm not the most confident guy in the world right there. So I hold the eagle. I make this big speech about how we're going to take the organization from here to here and how I want you all to connect. You're all an important part of it. You're the most valuable form of capital that we have at Barclays. We're going to raise the roof here, and I'm going to symbolize it by turning the eagle at Barclays loose. Boom! And I launch the eagle. And like this aisleway right here, that eagle dropped. I mean, the wingspan was like between this speaker and that speaker, and it goes right down on about 3 feet off the ground, right by everybody's heads, and they're like, oh my God, he did it. And my boss had said I was going to get fired if I did it, but I didn't care. I wanted to be courageous. So this eagle goes back, and the guy, for some reason, steps back into the shadows by a curtain, and the eagle couldn't see him, so she went, whop, 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 and you could hear it crack like firecrackers, which whoosh, whoosh, and took off into the rafters. It's like, oh my gosh. Another reason Mike Amato can't survive a crisis. So we waited, and I gave kind of a speech, because I was kind of ready for it, right? I'm a good risk manager, so hey, guys, don't worry about the eagle, because my point was this and that, and this is going to be courageous, and we're going to go get it, and we're going to do this and that and the other thing. So I was like, after a while I said, has anybody seen the damn eagle? And sure enough, the eagle landed right behind me, next to my boss. My boss is petrified. She said, do not turn that eagle loose, and it's walking towards her like this. She goes, the eagle's over here, Mike. So the guy comes, he puts his gun away, and he picks the eagle up. I said, what were you gun for? He goes, I was going to have to shoot that eagle. I'm waiting for somebody to scream. So anyways, Claire Marlowe, thank you for your advice. I wish I'd listened to you, but if you don't listen to your event planners, I'm telling you, you're making a big mistake. In fact, there was 2,700 people in the room that day, and I'll tell you, 15,000 people remember it. So I guess it did its job. So what I want you to take away from this conversation is number one, I think there's a better way to win, and it starts with understanding leadership more. It also starts with connecting people to a vision. I mean, for heaven's sakes, you work together for so long. What are we doing here together? It's the vision, it's a purpose. Third is connect with values, you'll connect with people. This conference is about connection, having a healthy ecosystem about connecting with your colleagues, with your colleagues and your teams, etc. So that's exactly what you need to do in terms of connecting and the like. Now, what I want you to do is help me out, because I think a lot of leaders need to hear this, and I want to get this message out. So when you have a conference and you're looking for a speaker, I'll come and I'll tell my eagle story, but I won't bring the eagle. But I do want you to think about me in terms of executive training. I have a personal development program, and then again, certainly keynote speaking around the topic of the book. So thanks for listening to me today, and I want to say that I look forward to working with all of you later. Thank you. Okay, now we've got a special treat for you. Backstage, I have a new friend. And I thought, I'm not sure if my message really connects. So I met Zeps back there, and I said, Zeps, he works for a company called EventWrap. And he is going to come up, and he created a rap to summarize my speech and really bring the messages home to you. So, Zeps, are you ready, sir?
Thank you, man. Maybe I should turn the mic on. Thank you, man. That was awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
How you guys feeling? You good? All right. My name is MC Zeps from EventWrap. I got DJ Kenny in the back. And let's drop that beat, DJ Kenny. Can I get a little more? There we go. Yo. When I say event, you say rap. Event. Leading in the time of Christ, that's the title of his book. Rapping, repeating, the chorus and the hook. Leading in the time of crisis is the title of his book. When I repeat this, that's the chorus and the hook. Thanks to Mike Amato, it's really nice to meet you. It was great to hear from this keynote speaker. It's kind of funny because I had 30 minutes to write this. Rhymes I'm reading while I'm leading in a time of crisis. Using negativity, a clever way to spin. Mike helped us find a much better way to win. You can focus on the dark side or use a lightsaber. No Darth Vader because culture informs behavior. Leading in a time of crisis, this is the title of the book. This is the chorus and the hook. You know that I come through no darkness, don't feel evil. But right now, I kind of want to fly like an eagle. Just like he said, because his words are intelligent. The eagle, it makes me think of us, because I'm American. Word, that's how you do, that's how we flow. Everybody know, here we go, here we go. As you listen to the verses that I'm spitting, I want to connect you all to the purpose and the vision. Now you're in position to focus and start targeting. Culture is to recruiting, is products to marketing. Align your values. You don't have to be a superstar. Your personal core values define who you are. A clear path to growth, like plants and photosynthesis. I heard what Mike said. Possibilities are limitless. We're here in Seattle, Washington. It's mutual. Whether you're a CEO or stuck in your cubicle, bring more innovation to see if it's more suitable. Creativity can make the workplace beautiful. Don't forget to seize an opportunity. You can please your staff and bring more unity. Work hard and give back to your community and the culture at work to grow more fluently. Leading in a time of crisis, the title of his book. The rapping part repeating is the chorus or the hook. Leading in a time of crisis, the chorus of the song. This is how I do it and we'll all just get along. I just met Mike, he's a really nice guy. I want to soar like an eagle and just fly. I know why, that's what I say, that's how I'm treating when you listen, and I love the way that he's speaking. Make some noise one more time for Mike. That's right, how we do it, that's right. Can I do a little special thing for the sponsors real quick? Is that okay? Hey, yo, Kenny, can you drop that beat again? I'm gonna try and do a freestyle with all these sponsor logos. So if you hear your company, make some noise. All right, let's see if I can use everyone in this rap. Yo, hey yo, check it out. When I walk in, you see me enter this beautiful place, the Seattle Convention Center. Everybody knows I got the freshest rhymes. When I be marketing, I'll say shouts to Electra Lime. And the meeting pool, kinda like I'm swimming. Check it out because you know everyone here is winning. Shouts to Meyer Pro, I got the fire flow. Cause you know I hit you with the ill flow as I grow. Yo, it's paperless? No, I read it wrong. That says paper trees. Bakeries is where I get my pastries. Trees are nice because it makes paper, and you know word, that's really right. But let's go digital. Check it out, you know my flow's hot like a stovetop. The after party was at Mo Pop. It was crazy. I had fun off the tip top. They even had an exhibition about some hip hop with the SSA Group Grand Event Rentals. This is me kicking freestyles on instrumentals. Give me Valadar Wilkinson events. They threw the after party DJ with my friends. Shouts to, what does that say? Court Party Rental. I'm from Stockton, that's an hour from Sacramento. Blue Ink Design and Fern and Mr. Butler. I see you right there, Stewart Word. Chicken cutlets is what I like to make for my kids in the kitchen. I kind of really miss them. My wife too, that's true. I tell them every morning, yes, I love you. I like BizX because the X on the end, it's kind of blue. You should visit Seattle BL and Session Board. Everybody knows I freestyle, I don't have a cord. A wireless mic. Hey yo, I spit the rhymes. I flew here on Alaska Airlines. I didn't use a compass. I didn't have a balloon. Check it out because you know I'm just spitting the tune. AFR, enjoy, and you know the will way. This is fun. We're grown-ups, but we still play. Zenus, Venus out in space, and the Intech. Check it out because you know when I'm rhyming, I've been fresh. Greater Giving, Puget Sound Business Journal. Everybody knows that we're just jumping over hurdles. I can't read the last one. I gotta squint my eyes. Wilmington Society, word that's no surprise. I can't see the last thing. I think it says excellence. That's pretty cool because I'm rhyming. That's my testament. International ILEA. Rhyming up here with Kenny. He's my DJ. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Some people call it BK. I gotta say the last sponsors today. I'll say NACE, Washington State. They're so great. Pacific Northwest chapter in the place. Woodinville Wine Country NI app. Admin Awards. That's the end of my rap. Thank you guys. Hit us up, Event Rap. We got flyers. We do all kinds of rhyming. We love you. Mike, that inspired the heck out of me. I appreciate you, brother. Peace.